it doesn't matter what weight divisions or anything, or even what belt is on the line, because really I should create my own belt, because I am in myself my own belt. It doesn't matter weight. It doesn't matter if it's a featherweight, the lightweight, the welterweight. It's the McGregor belt. So that's it. I'm fighting for my own belt.
Are you interested in fighting Sean O'Malley?
Now, that's the next question that I knew was coming. Am I interested in fighting again? Yes. Do I need to call out one specific person? No. Am I saying no to one specific person? No. And I could also see how that would be a matchup that people are talking about. You know, he feints a lot. He uses his range well. He's tall, he's long. I'm tall, I'm long. I use feint. We have a lot of similarities. And, you know, if he's an up and coming athlete, I'm sure he's watched a ton of my fights and saw how I was successful. And I see that he uses a lot of stuff. So no, I'm not opposed to it, but I haven't talked to Shelby or anything. And I'm just getting back into training again now. I'm nursing bursitis in my left elbow. And once that goes away and I'll be in it this whole month, we'll think of something and we'll get back in there.
Right? So I've already gone through this before in this organization in the UFC when I fought John Dodson. So to see, you know, that same thing happen to Aljamain Sterling versus Peter Yan, why did he get DQ'd? And I'm like, well, it's a rule that he was on the ground. He's a down opponent. And they're like, yeah, he's down, but he's defending. He can clearly defend himself, right? Do I think it's a rule that needs to be changed? I think so. I think it's going to help the fight progress. It's also going to keep people moving. The biggest thing that my coach tells me is that why should an athlete go to his knees and touch the ground, dictate what I can and can't do? Like, think about that. And when my coach trains me and tells me to have that mindset, it makes sense, right? Like, if I'm getting beat up in a fight and I put my hands and knees on the ground, you have to stop your onslaught. You have to rethink the way you're going to go about, like, trying to proceed with the fight, if that makes sense. So that's what my mindset was when I was watching that fight, because the fight was starting to go in Peter Yan's favor, right? I felt Peter Yan was slowly picking him apart, you know, and Aljamain Sterling had his good shots in there. But once he went down his knees and he was holding his hands, that's a problem. If he was holding his hands on his knees, like praying, and he got blasted and he's like, oh, and I was like, I was like, one, Peter on. I was like, like when it happened, I was like, Peter on, you fucking idiot. I was like, you're finally winning the fight, and then you throw this knee and get disqualified. And then I'm like, and then it's just like a wrestling, right? Back in the wrestling days, when people get pinned, the first thing your coach says to you goes, you shouldn't have been there in the first place, right? That's the wrestling mentality. Like if you get cradled, stacked, or anything like that, your coach says you should have been in the first place. So that was like my opinion. I was like, Adrian, you're way better now. Why are you putting yourself in that position? So yeah, I think the rules should be changed. I think it'll be good for the sport. I think it will open up a lot more things, and I think people won't use that position as a safety, as like I'm gonna use this because I'm safe, right? And those aren't my words. Those are his words, to be exact. I remember Sterling, who came on here, not on here, he said it, he goes, I knew I was in a safe position. When he said it, I was like, you're in a fucking fight. You're never in a safe position. You shouldn't think that I'm safe here, right? Like, so, but yeah.
You mentioned his striking is ever evolving. Can you kind of talk about what you see in his striking? Because yeah, that has been something that every time he fights now that we're talking about it, like, hey, this guy's just not a submission ace. And it seems like he has kind of, you and Poirier and Conor, you're very boxing based. What do you see in him? Like, how would you characterize his striking?
I think two things. I think he uses his attributes very well. He's long, he's 5'11", dang near 6 foot. So he's got long legs, long arms. So he uses that reach really well. He throws those kicks out to stay at distance. He throws very good, sharp, straight punches straight down the middle. So whether it's a jab or whether it's a straight right hand, he's A, gonna stick you with it, and B, keep you at bay with it. So obviously with me, you see the way that I constantly come forward, moving my head, changing angles, high, low, having to get around that kind of that long arm and leg that he's got coming at you. And then secondly, I think you just see confidence. I mean, when a guy gets confidence, he gets more versatile, he gets more flowing with his strikes. He strings together more combinations. And I think that's what you see. Charles Oliveira is just, I think, a guy who was, 90% jiu-jitsu based, and all of a sudden, man, wait a second, I'm starting to stick people and starting to piece them up with my hands and feet. So you see him start to do it more and more and string together combinations, similar to when a wrestler gets into mixed martial arts. At first you see him just shooting, and then later on, as they start to evolve, similar to myself, you start seeing them land a combination, then a takedown right away, not just the takedown without the punches. And that's kind of what Charles Oliveira has done. And he's a tall test. He is a tough, salty veteran, and I can't wait to go compete against him.